Baltimore destroys Miami. The Dolphins are 1-4 against good teams. Is that a mirage in the desert that we're seeing with this offense? Did we get sold a bill of bad goods? I mean, they've not been competitive at all. Baltimore put 56 points on them in that game over the weekend. And now Miami's got problems going to the playoffs as a wild card team. They have lost Brad Chubb, their big linebacker, defensive end, torn knee ligaments. They've lost Raheem Mostert, the heavy-duty running back who's done such a great job for them in short yardage situations. Jalen Waddle's got a high ankle sprain, and suddenly Tua's team around him is not what Tua's team had been most of the season. I don't know they're going to have all their key players back for any form of these playoff games. Meanwhile, across the sidelines, the guys wearing purple and black. What a statement game by Lamar Jackson. MVP, period, exclamation point, maybe end of discussion. Defense, MVP football too.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing game between those two teams, but it was a lot more lopsided than I expected it to be. So the Ravens are the real deal, man. I mean, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to knock them off.
Yeah, it could well be. On we go. Second game, Dallas-Detroit. I hate to say this. It's a tough game to officiate, but for the second time in 2 weeks, the NFL refs have seemingly botched up calls that impacted the final score of a game with teams that needed those victories, either to be home field advantage teams, etc. In the first half in the Kansas City game, now this Detroit Lions situation. Did you report? Did you not report? I mean, Dak Prescott blazing hot. CeeDee Lamb just cannot be stopped. Lions are screeching that Taylor Lewan, their left tackle, did report tackle eligible. The other backup tackle who came on the field said he talked to the ref, but he did not tell the ref I'm tackle eligible. Jared Goff heard the conversation. NFL has been silent, has not said a word about that conversation. The ref heard one thing, and maybe he misplaced 70, telling me he was tackle eligible rather than 68. Did he tell the defense he gave him the wrong number? That led to the penalty flag. Detroit really took a hit here because this is important for them and home field as to who they're going to play as the NFC North champion. So Dallas is back winning. Detroit really steamed.
I mean, it's like it's tough being a Lions fan, right? They're finally good and then they get screwed. Yeah, that was awful. And I think what I noticed is that the ref, had number 68 was near him, number 70 was running towards him, but he wanted to quickly get away so he could tell the defense who was eligible. And I think he kind of jumped the gun there. But the fact the NFL is not saying anything, that proves that they know they screwed up and they're trying to get their story straight.
Kansas City, Cincinnati. The Chiefs are trying to find their momentum. They're trying to fix everything that's wrong. That's one storyline. The other storyline is now we know why Jake Browning's been a backup quarterback his entire life, because it's all kind of caught up to him. Kansas City still got problems. Wide receivers dropping passes, sloppy route running, penalties, etc. Offensive line has not protected Mahomes on a consistent basis. The quarterback himself is forcing things along the way. And in terms of Cincinnati, now they're out of the playoffs. That's a tough blow. And, Joe Burrow's now had 3 major injuries in a 4-year span as a star quarterback. And Jake Browning, who did really well, had the wheels fall off Cinderella's carriage, and he played really poorly under pressure. But it goes back to my philosophy about head coaches and defensive coordinators. The more video I compile on you, I will figure out what you don't do well, John Riley, and I will force you into certain things that you don't do well. That's what's happened to Jake Browning. Kansas City, one and done. Kansas City, wild card team going on the road.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That just doesn't make any sense compared to what we've seen of the Chiefs. Now, I wasn't watching this game live. I was watching the Charger game, and the announcers kept talking about how the Broncos were still eligible to get into the playoffs if Kansas City were to lose and then lose next week and yada, yada. And I thought that was mind-blowing that could even be a possibility. But Chiefs fans are frustrated. Chiefs fans have been chiming in social media. They still love their team, but they know they're going through a little bit of a rocky patch.
Yeah, there's going to be some evaluation about wide receivers in this offseason. They're going to have to fix some things along the way. Next game, Steelers, Seattle. You believe this? Do you believe this? Pittsburgh is 9-7 and is probably going to be in the playoffs with their third-string quarterback, a plotting offense, and a defense that's had a lot of injuries. Mason Rudolph is now the starting quarterback going towards the playoffs. He'll start again. He's thrown for 299 and 279 in his 2 starts and doesn't turn the ball over. And George Pickens, who I think they've wasted most of the year because I didn't think they were running the right routes, and then he got involved with a spit-to with the media and some of his own coaches, and Deontay Johnson. Now all of a sudden they're throwing a ball to him downfield. They're making big plays. They hadn't done that for the first 12 to 14 weeks of the season. And Seattle defense has collapsed. Now they got a bunch of injuries, nagging injuries, which has hurt them. But this is not Pete Carroll defense at all. So there's injury, and I think there's some attitude problems on that Seattle Seahawk roster. Pittsburgh in the playoffs, considering who they were, how bad they played, and the way they started the season. That's a surprise.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Hacksaw is going to be really happy to see the Steelers in the playoffs. But it's the Steelers are such an interesting franchise because they have all that history, all those rings, and internationally they're very beloved, which I'm starting to figure that out now.
Rooney family.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I was kind of rooting for Pickett to be something, and I think maybe he's probably gone as far as he can go. Mason Rudolph, nice surprise.
Yeah, very much so. Raiders, Colts. At the end of the day, you can have all the emotion you want. It only carries you a certain way down the road. You got to have talent to take you the rest of the way. So the Raiders lose to Indianapolis. Devontae Adams, who some weeks has been unstoppable, other weeks hardly gets any targets, at 13 catches. To me, too little, too late. I just have never understood watching Raider games the distribution of the football. Why have they not targeted Adams 10 to 15 times every game? Why don't they throw to Hunter Renfrow more in the slot? There's something just screwy in the play call. And of course, not having Josh Jacobs at the end of the season because of a quad injury after him being slow out of the gate because he held out all the exhibition schedule. And I don't know what to make of Aiden O'Connell. He throws for 299 against Indy. The week before, he threw for 62. Didn't complete a pass in the second, third, and fourth quarters. And the Colts, how stunning is this? Gardner the gunslinger, Gardner Minshew. They don't have a starting quarterback. They lost both their running backs for chunks of the season with significant injuries. Top receiver Michael Pittman's been in and out of the lineup, concussion problems. They got rid of their Pro Bowl linebacker at midseason because he'd never fully come back from injury. And Indianapolis is going to the playoffs probably. They're sitting there right now at 9-7 with the gunslinger getting the job done. So you can talk about the Raiders, you know about the Colts.
Yeah, it's amazing that the Colts are eligible or in the hunt here because when they lost AR-15, I thought, okay, I wasn't expecting much. And without him, I wasn't expecting anything. But the Raiders, something screwy going on with the offense. I mean, tell me something new. You just never can figure those guys out.
Now is Antonio Pierce the right guy? He's now 4-4.
Oh, okay.
And so tough decision for Mark Davis. Final game on the docket. We got the Chargers. We got the Broncos. What an ugly embarrassment that was. God, that looked like a third preseason game in August. Who are these guys? Easton Stick hangs in there without a lot of support. They don't have any of their wide receivers. Austin Eckler has totally disappeared as a big-time running back. The pass protection's been shoddy. I think Kellen Moore has lost his flash as a play caller and offensive coordinator. Khalil Mack, 100th quarterback sack, but he can't do it by himself. He's really had a marvelous, marvelous season. And they lost to Jared Stidman. Who? Jared Stidman, who had never won a game in the NFL, kind of beat the Chargers. And Denver did this with all the cloud of the Russell Wilson controversy hanging over everybody's shoulders. I'll ask this question. Now that it's all out there on the table for America to see how Denver treated Russell Wilson, now with the facts are there and the union confirmed everything, that Denver went to him October 29th and said, if you don't change the injury language in your contract, you will be benched. Well, first of all, you can't do that. You can't intimidate a player to change his contract. That's why the union got involved. And Russell Wilson said, no, I played my whole career. I earned that injury clause. And then they went out and they won 5 straight games with Wilson. So the Broncos couldn't bench him in the midst of this. Then they hit the skids and they went 1-3 and they sat Wilson down. and then a story leaks out about what happened in October, etc. Here's a burning question. How can you respect the Broncos leadership going forward after they did this to a quality football player? What free agent would want to sign a contract and go play for that organization based on what they tried to do to the superstar quarterback?
Yeah, it's a bad look, going for buyer's remorse after trading away the farm, giving him that huge contract. I mean, it's just awful. But back to the game, Denver ended up winning it at the end, which was just classic Chargers, just a choke job. But boy, that was an ugly game. It was fugly. Excuse me.
Just horrible. Hey.